This right here is my fourth, vlog on YouTube. And my previous three vlogs have been me taking you with me throughout my day to day, or, the last one we had an event the other week. And today I actually just wanted to sit here, or stand here with you and explain at least how I handle when things go wrong. Because I think in business, it's very easy to ride the highs and ride the momentum of when things are going right. But as soon as the momentum shifts to when things are going wrong, we have to quickly analyze and figure out how to reverse that momentum, right? Reverse that trajectory. So I'll give you a quick story of mine, and this is going to lead on to me explaining something. I'm going to try and do it right here on this whiteboard, so we'll see. So I guess the first story would be something that happened to me back in 2021. So I got into the mortgage industry, and this is very specific if you're in mortgage or real estate. You'll know that it's feast or famine. And I was in the process of leaving my first mortgage company, and I had $4,000 in my bank account. Now, at that time, I had just gotten a little bit of traction on social media. So at the time, I think maybe I had about anywhere in the range of 15 to 20,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok. And I was thinking to myself, okay, as I was leaving this company, I had $4,000 in my bank account. And I had enough at that time to just about cover my monthly expenses with half of it. And then the other half for me was cushion money. It was a little bit of safety money because I didn't have another job secured, didn't have another mortgage company to go to. I had no way of making income. Now, I had a conversation with my advisor, my number one advisor in life, who's my mum, a very smart lady. And what she said to me on that phone call completely changed the way I take risks and completely changed the way I approach things. Because my instinct was, look, I need to hold on to that $4,000 and make it stretch for as long as it possibly can. And that's what most of us would think, right? That's the smart way of approaching things. Now, what she said to me was very different. I said to her, look, I got $4,000. I now don't have a job. I'm in between jobs. I'm not really too sure what to do with myself. My mum said, okay, well, the social media thing that you're doing right now looks like it's doing well. How can you do better on there to generate more leads? That would be a great way for you when you move into your new job to be able to generate some money, right? And I said, well, in order for me to improve my social media, I need to have better equipment. And in order for me to have better equipment, I need to spend money on it. And I don't have enough money. My mum said, all right, how much is the gear? How much is the equipment? And at that time, the equipment I needed was a camera and a microphone that would have cost me about $2,000 all in, right? I said, Mum, that's the last $2,000 I have, roughly. I could just about squeeze it with paying for my monthly, overheads as well. But I would have 1 month. That's all I'd have, 1 month worth of money left. And I said, that would be, for me, just doesn't make any sense right now. I'm just gonna have to try to make some content from my phone, but I don't know if it's gonna do as well. And in very few words, my mum said to the effect of, buy the camera equipment, buy the gear. Now, she wasn't offering to support me financially because, for me to buy this gear was me effectively going out on a whim and taking a risk. And for her to be there as backup for me financially would not have been a very smart move for her, right? Now, I said to her that was crazy and get off the phone and quickly realized that might actually be one of the smartest things she's ever told me to do. Because for me to double down on my skill set would allow me to generate more leads faster, which would then give me more money quicker, rather than me sitting there and allowing time to maybe slowly fade my business away, or for me not to get the traction that I'd need on social media for me to be able to grow. So get off that phone call and I just say, screw it. And I take that $2,000, I buy all the camera equipment and I go as fast as I can on social media. I'm talking about, I spend hours every day putting some video content together, scripting it, filming it, editing it, doing all that stuff. And the reason I did that was because I was hungrier than I would have been in my job. If I was in my job and I had money coming in, I wouldn't have pushed myself nowhere near as hard as I pushed myself when I didn't have that comfort blanket. I didn't have that safety net. And I only had the option of me trying to work as hard as I physically could to generate leads, which would be me essentially making more content on social media. And a lot of people go, how did you grow so quickly? I grew so quickly on social media because I didn't have a choice at the beginning. And very shortly after we get investing in that camera equipment, my social media started taking off. I started getting leads. I joined another mortgage company very quickly and everything took off. And I was a self-source loan officer and I started doing deals again. And that's when everything came to life for my career. But without that injection of me realizing that the actual focus was on me improving my skill set and doubling down on my business, I would not have been anywhere near as successful as fast. And maybe I would have lost my momentum on social media, and maybe things would have taken a turn for the worst if I didn't invest and double down on it. So by me telling you that story, what I'm trying to explain is the idea of when you are down, you have to double down. When you are down, you have to double down. All right. Now, I'll walk you through another literal example. Okay. So, and I'm someone who likes examples for things, right? I like to see kind of how things work. So I'm going to try and get this on this whiteboard right now for you to explain. Now, my example I just told you there, it wasn't life or death. There are many people out there with way worse situations, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. They have families, kids, divorce. There's so many things that can happen right in life, which can be way worse than my previous situation. But that was just a small one for me to give you an example. Now, more recently, I had another situation that approached me. And this is where it lent me to go back in my brain to realize what I did in these previous examples of doubling down in bad situations, and draw upon that and then deploy that in my current situation, which basically was I had a pretty solid team of very decent loan officers who were all out of state. So I'm based in California. I had 4 to 5 high producing loan officers on my team. I had a larger team than that. But 4 to 5 of those were high producing loan officers, right? And long story short, to cut it short, I went on vacation to see my family, and I was gone for maybe 2 days. And 2 days into that vacation, I get basically a resignation from 3 of my top producing loan officers, right? And I know shortly after that, the 4th was going to go because they were very close with each other. And the reasoning was actually fair, right? One of my loan officers fell pregnant, and she needed support locally, right? To go into builders' offices for her. So she didn't have a choice really but to leave. And she was the top producer, and they were all working together in a small office over there that we'd set up for them. Everything was looking great. But, when one domino falls, it tends to usually topple everything else over. So in the space of 2 to 3 days, I had lost a huge amount of my income and a lot of my focus, because my focus was on developing these people. So I had to take a huge pivot very, very quickly. And I realized right there and then that I need to deploy the double down when you're down strategy. And that's what I'm going to call it, right? So that was very recent. That was at the beginning of this. That was end of March of this year, all right? Now, what happened was this, right? Obviously, you have moments in life where you're rising, right? You have moments in life where everything's fine, right? And I guess we'll just put it on this side, right? You're rising. So the team was growing for me, right? Now, hopefully you can see all this too. I don't know if I can see it. Yeah, right here, right? So you have moments in life where you're rising, okay? Now, you also have moments in life. I'll put rise here. Now, you also have moments in life where you are falling, okay? I'll put fall here. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain to you what happened. So obviously the team was growing and it was rising and everything was great. And we didn't have a huge team, but I put a lot of effort and concentrated that into this team. Now, overnight, everything fell, all right? Everything fell right down to the ground in one moment. Now, let me explain the nature of things when they fall, because this is going to hopefully give you a little bit of a literal, this is a physics analogy right here, right? Which can hopefully play into this to help you understand how important it is for you to actually push the pressure and increase the rate of potential failure when things go wrong. Let me explain. So on this fall right here, right? Let's imagine that this is a literal ball, right? We have a tennis ball, for example, falling, okay? So we've got the fall. I'm going to put another one right here for you so you can see. This is a tennis ball dropping, okay? As this ball drops, what happens? It rebounds, right? Anytime that something bad happens to you in life, you will always know that you will bounce back. However, the natural force on that rebound will never bring it back up to its original state, right? It will never bring it back up to here. When it rebounds and pops back up again, maybe you'll get 3/4 of the way back up again, right? So naturally, if things go wrong and you just try and stay the course and you just try and, okay, we just got to go through it, we've got to power through, right? you will not necessarily be back to where you were for a decent amount of time if you just continue on the trajectory that you're on before. You go, okay, let me just dig my head down and just try and move and change the momentum, right? Just like how when a ball drops, okay? If it drops from this height, it drops down, it's not necessarily going to make it all the way back up to where it was before. Physically will not do that. It will only make it maybe three quarters of the way back up again. And that's the same thing with life. Now, how do we get this ball, right? How do we get life when we end up in a period where we are falling, where things go wrong? How do we get ourselves back up to where we were before as quickly as possible? Apply force, okay? It's as simple as applying pressure and applying force to that ball. Now, if I have a ball right now and I want to get it back up to my hand, instead of dropping it, I'm going to apply pressure and I'm going to throw it down. It's really that simple, right? So if I apply pressure now, if I apply force to this ball, I'm going to bring it back up and it's going to come right back to where it was. And in many instances, if I apply enough pressure, that ball is actually going to bounce higher than its starting point, right? Higher than it was before. Now, in my instance, what I did in this most recent scenario was I had a huge portion of my income and my focus cut, right? Because my focus was on building the team and helping them improve their overall businesses. Now, they had gone overnight and I had lost a huge portion of my income, right? Which was managing the team. So at that point, a lot of people, and myself included, natural instinct is always to go, okay, we got to stay reserved. All right. We got to just kind of, we have to almost make the money stretch. It's making the money stretch. It's making everything stretch now just to stay afloat. Now, that natural instinct always needs to be overridden. You need to override it, right? If you ever get in a period where things go wrong, override that natural instinct for you to want to stay afloat and instead friggin' catapult out that water. Swim as fast as you possibly can and get out, right? Get back onto dry land. And what that takes for us, usually, especially in business, is a cash injection. So what I'm saying is you're never going to lose everything all at once, right? It never works that way. You're going to lose a lot. It's not going to be catastrophic, however, right? Now, me losing my team was not catastrophic, but what I needed to do was inject more time, energy, effort, and cash than I typically would when I was down, right? When I was down, I needed to double down. So I took a bunch more money than I would normally spend, right? And this isn't financial advice. This is my personal advice on how to get out of a hole, right? How to get out of something when something's difficult. I took a bunch more money than I would usually spend and I reinvested it back into the business. A lot of us think that you invest when the business is doing good. You invest when things are great. Just like the stock market, if you want to get a high return on your money, you're going to invest when things drop, when things dip, right? And that's the same way that you need to approach yourself in your own business. I doubled down and invested at least double or triple what I'd usually invest in my business on a monthly basis to host an event, to drive more people to my community, to increase the amount of lead generation that I'd be creating for myself as a loan officer, right? And by me taking that approach of doubling down time, energy, effort, and financially over the last few months, I've actually managed to take myself from a position whereby I was semi-reliant on my team's income, right? And the override from my team and, being there in that support capacity to actually pushing it back through the limit. And now the business is doing a lot better than it would have been because I applied the force to the ball. So what I want to say here and what I want to finish on is it's natural to be afraid. It's natural to feel uncomfortable when things go wrong. But just like an animal, right? If you see an animal in the wild and it's hurt, it would rather limp than stay still. It would rather walk with a limp than stay still, okay? Because the point is you cannot show weakness. Because as soon as you show weakness, that in turn allows you to manifest weakness. Things can continue to go wrong and other people will see it that way, right? And your business will start to deteriorate. If things go wrong, right? When you are weak, you must act strong. When you are weak, you must act strong. And in the same breath, when you are strong, act as if you're weak. Because it allows people to realize and understand that there's a level of humility in your business and the way that you are. And at the same time, not maybe take advantage and see you in this great position and try to gain or grab something from you or from your business. So overall right now, if you're going through this period of time where you think that things aren't going your way, I want to tell you that it's your moment, it's your opportunity to apply force and apply pressure to this. And this does mean that when you start to invest more in yourself when times are down, it could accelerate things getting worse. But if you are someone who bets on yourself, if you are someone who knows that you can deliver, then the acceleration is only going to bring you back up to where you are, if not improve your business after a period of a downturn, after a period of things going wrong. That's all I'm going to say. That's the end of this video. Wanted to put this together real quick. One cut, one quick piece of content for you, and I'll see you in the next one.